Alright, and this is the Craptacular Review bonus episode, breaking from our Cult Movie Challenge routine.
Yes.
To cover a movie that I know you and I have both been looking forward to, Deadpool.
For some time, yes.
Yes. This is Justin Hollinger.
And Kevin Seiler.
And we literally just got back from seeing the earliest possible showing of Deadpool.
Yeah.
And I know we both have been fans of the character in the comics for quite some time.
Correct.
And I think we were both very disappointed with how he was handled in X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yeah.
I don't.
I don't even think people who were not fans before saw that and they're like, all right, yeah, I'm a fan. Like, I don't think anyone liked that rendition of the character, even people who weren't familiar with the character in the first place.
Well, yeah, because you get enough to know they fucked it up.
Yeah.
Because Ryan Reynolds is getting some good one-liners off, and then they decided to sew his mouth shut.
Yeah.
Great fucking idea, you morons. Yeah. And that is acknowledged as such in this movie. That was one thing I was curious about going into this. How much are they going to do the fourth wall breaking?
Yeah.
Because that's a strong part of the character.
Right.
Would you say they handled that well?
I was actually surprised. Not only with the fourth wall breaking, but just like the humor and the pop culture references and that stuff in general, I think was handled really well. One of my worries going into it was like they were going to take the approach of let's just throw everything at it and see what sticks. But I feel like I feel like pretty much all the jokes landed pretty well.
For me, they landed better than I thought they would. Actually. I don't know, maybe they just weren't doing the right sort of pacing in the trailers and commercials.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It was one of those things where the jokes in the advertising on paper were good, but they weren't working perfectly for me. Maybe it was they had to kind of trim it to try to cram as many in as possible in the commercials. I guess we should initially say, okay, so how did you feel about the movie?
I really enjoyed it.
I will agree with that. I was impressed. It worked better than I thought it would, and I had pretty high hopes to begin with.
Yeah, it's you could really tell that everyone was having fun making this. Not just Ryan Reynolds, who has been very vocal about how much he's enjoyed doing this, but it really felt like everybody who was on board was having a good time.
I think they did a really fantastic job with the movie, and I was a little concerned going into it because I don't think the director has much of a track record.
This is, I think, his feature debut.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that had me a little concerned. I knew that they were going to try their damnedest to get away from the X-Men Origins interpretation of the character as much as possible.
As they should.
Yeah. Let's go into a little bit of like what's our background with the character.
Yeah.
What's our track record with the character? I've liked the character for 3-4 years. I'm not gonna try to make the case that I've been a diehard fan for my whole life or anything. I've been trying my damnedest to catch up.
Yeah.
The majority of the stuff that I've read in comic form of the character has been limited series.
Yeah.
Merc with a Mouth, I think that was my first major introduction to the character. I think that was a 13-issue series. And that's still my favorite.
Yeah.
Phenomenal series. I think that right there is my perfect example of how I like the humor tone.
Yeah.
And it's got just like great over-the-top epic storyline. There's that. Deadpool Corpse, I don't know how to pronounce that. Deadpool Pulp, which sucked ass. A horrible film noir sort of retelling of the character that had no sense of humor in it to speak of. Yeah, why would you even bother doing it?
Yeah.
What's your experience?
I was introduced to the character, I want to say, just about 10 years ago.
Okay.
The video game Marvel Ultimate Alliance. He was a playable character on that, and quickly became one of my favorite ones. And then even in that game, like, we got, hint. I mean, it wasn't really too heavily focused on story and character development, but like your playable characters you got to have conversations with other characters in the in the game, and you got to make like dialogue choices and stuff like that. And even in some of those, like there was a lot of fourth wall breaks and stuff like that. And so like as far as the comics go, I've read just bits and pieces here and there. I haven't read like an entire series.
If I remember correctly, you've done a good chunk of Cable and Deadpool.
I've read. I have the trade paperback collected editions of those, and I've read the first 3 and then about half of the 5th one, if I recall correctly. And I think there's like 7 volumes.
Okay, so I've read, you've hit the majority.
I've read the bulk of it. Okay. Yeah. I really enjoy that, which really gets me excited because I've been wanting them to introduce Cable into the X-Men series for a while now.
We should probably let's make sure to have a designated area for spoilers here.
Yeah.
I'll make sure I mark down where that is. But let's hold off on that for the time being. Okay, so the lead up to this movie itself has been a really, really long road.
Yeah.
You've had admitted diehard fanboy turned actor Ryan Reynolds play the character in X-Men Origins Wolverine, which I think was
09.
And that was horrible.
Yeah.
Not just the movie itself, which was, but the presentation of the character itself. And I know in the general fanboy world, a lot of people soured to the idea as a whole of Ryan Reynolds playing the character ever again.
I was one of them.
Yeah, and I'm quite proud to say this. I was not one of them. Because I knew of Reynolds from the sitcom he did, Two Guys and a Girl in a Pizza Place, which I'm still a fan of. 17 years later.
Yeah.
Okay, think about that for a second. We're 17 years after that.
Yeah.
And he still looks like this. That's actually pretty impressive right there. But, digress. I remember his sense of humor there and thinking that actually is pretty solid in what I think of when I think of Deadpool. Yeah. I know at one point you were championing the voice actor from the video game to maybe do the character.
Was I?
I know at one point, if nothing else, you were saying like you really, really liked that interpretation.
I
thought they should go with that.
Yeah, just that style, not necessarily have Nolan North because I think he's getting kind of up there in years, and I don't know if he's really done much of live action acting. He's primarily a voice actor, but just that sort of like less dry humor and more just
cartoony.
Yeah, in a way. Just,
I know. I wanted the dry.
Yeah.
I wanted something Monty Python-ish.
Yeah.
I think we kind of got a blend of that here.
I was thinking so. I mean, there's bits that are silly and cartoony, and then there are bits that are sarcastic and witty.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very good blend of the two styles.
It's a bit too colorful to be dry.
Yeah.
And it's a bit. I wouldn't say it's like Jim Carrey slapstick sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's a good combo of the two.
Yeah.
One thing I will mention before we get into Spoiler Town.
Yeah.
I was really surprised by a couple things. I was surprised by just how effective like the heart of the movie is, I guess I'd say. Because, there's enough shown in the trailers and commercials. You know that there is a love interest story to the movie. And it worked really well, actually. Yeah. Surprisingly well.
They did a good job to make the characters likable, I think. And so, yeah, you in a genre where you don't typically feel for the characters and the romantic love interests and stuff are just sort of treated as background noise most of the time. Like it was interesting not only to see a superhero movie that was centered around that in a way, but of all the movies to do that, make it the Deadpool movie to.
Yeah, I didn't expect, and I wasn't really looking forward to a Deadpool movie with a love story.
Yeah.
But it worked.
Yeah.
It worked in this story.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll point out that I thought was odd was this movie doesn't follow the structure of first act where you set up the story, second act where you develop the story, third act where you conclude the story.
Yeah.
It was Acts 1 and 2 are spliced together in the first hour, and then we have a half hour of third act.
Yeah.
The origin story is done via flashback. Again, I don't think this is a spoiler.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you what happens, but origin story is told via flashback.
Yeah.
And that takes up the first hour. So you're kind of going back and forth. And that works actually pretty well because otherwise it would just be half hour of dead seriousness.
Yeah.
Half hour of goofball comedy and then half hour of action comedy.
Yeah.
This worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
I don't know how... They might have to replicate that with the upcoming sequel. They've already announced it. They've confirmed a sequel. What did you think about the villain?
It pretty typical in terms of treatment. It's just a one-off comic book movie villain that's in the long run pretty disposable, but they do enough to poke fun at that trope.
Yeah.
They joke about it enough that at least we know they're aware of it. And I guess, you know, maybe I'm a little biased on the subject, but I'm willing to give this movie a pass on that just because I didn't give a shit about the villain going into it.
I'll agree with that. I think going into this movie, as much advertising as there was for it, which was a lot.
Yeah.
They didn't give much away in terms of what the fuck is the plot.
Yeah.
And no one seemed to care about that.
Yeah.
Everyone was just like, I want to see Deadpool. He's
right.
Like, well, do you care? I don't give a fuck who the villain is. I want to see Deadpool. Yeah. And even with that, I was pretty pleased with how they did the villain.
Yeah.
The reason I'll give is you really want to see this fucker get killed.
Yeah.
He's basically like a concentration camp war criminal doctor performing horrible experiments on people.
Right.
Like, he's that level.
And then selling them in slavery, essentially.
Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and
raise the spoiler flag.
Yeah, let's get into Spoiler Town, USA. Yeah. Okay, so
population us.
Yes, and whoever the fuck's listening at this point. They changed the origin bit.
Yeah.
Which was to be expected. You have to cater to whatever media you're in.
Yeah.
And I think they did that well. In here, he's diagnosed with cancer, which that's
pretty
kept
canon,
over.
yeah.
What they changed was they didn't. It wasn't the same Weapon X program that Wolverine was brought into, which that was the comic storyline.
Yeah.
Here, it's supposed to be sort of like they're making people into mutants and then selling them off to the highest bidder to be like superpower guerrilla fighters.
Yeah.
And the way they're going to mutate you is they're going to basically inject you with some serum.
Yep.
And they're going to torture your body
so the adrenaline kicks in the mutation.
Basically like a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
Perks up, and there you go. You got yourself a mutant.
Yeah.
Dope you up, send you to the highest bidder.
Yeah, and it's... Yeah, I think they say that, the mutations themselves are random. It just...
Yeah, they don't know what the fuck's going to happen. They're like, well, here's hoping.
Yeah.
They're like, when they put him in this chamber that for an entire weekend is going to deprive him of oxygen just to the point of when he would die.
Yeah.
Which, again, that's just like... That's fucking intense.
Yeah.
That is like some concentration camp level insanity right there. No offense intended for Jews.
Yeah.
This shit's crazy. But, and then all that happened, and part of the unintended side effect of that is the skin deformity that he gets. I was guessing that it was going to be that he got burned in the explosion.
Yeah.
As the mutation was coming over him.
Yeah.
And so it came over him just after he got third-degree burns all over his body. That was my guess. Threw me a little bit of a curveball on that. Yeah. I don't really know if that sort of skin mutation would happen with oxygen deprivation. I don't think it would. I've never seen a drowning victim that looks like they've been burned to death.
I think Ajax Francis, he made some mention that it was like a side effect of the mutation.
Yeah, because that was what I really went off on the tangent there. That was kind of what I was going to get to. It was like, they do that for the whole weekend, and then they come back because I guess they didn't check on him at any time, and they're like, oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Which, like, he mutated within the first minute of this experiment happening. You didn't look for the next 48 hours. Yeah. But, okay.
Yeah.
We'll go with that. Blows the fucking place up. Gets out. They think he's dead because they didn't find out what his mutation was.
Right.
Even though they fucking told him. Well, no. At first they thought the mutation was that it cured his cancer.
Yeah.
They didn't know how far it went, but it cures everything. He's basically indestructible now. He is Bruce Willis.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole story, he went into this program in the first place because he's diagnosed with numerous cases of cancer.
Yeah.
And he goes in
very late stage, too, I think they mentioned.
He goes into this to try to cure himself so that he can be with the love of his life.
Yeah.
Former hooker.
Right.
And live happily ever after, basically.
As they often do.
Mm-hmm. And this is the origin story that's interspliced with the essentially an expanded version of the action scene that we all know and love from the leaked test footage a few years back. And I thought that was a well handled way to do it.
Yeah.
What else is there? I thought, I was pleased with the amount of fourth wall breaks that were in here.
Yeah, they didn't rely on it like a crutch, but...
Should we go ahead and call it quits on the spoilers?
Yeah, that's
I think we pretty much covered everything.
Yeah.
So that was that. Welcome back, everyone. I like the comedy.
Yeah.
I like the sidekicks.
Yeah,
I thought worked well.
I was actually going to ask you about that.
Do you feel like there may have been an intentional forcing of political correctness by having, on Deadpool's side, you have a strong female sidekick, and on the villain side, you have a strong female sidekick.
Yeah.
And they don't even necessarily pair up with each other in the climactic battles. Which, by the way, they never... we kind of find out what the powers are of the female villain.
Yeah, it's like...
just by seeing it. She's basically non-metallic female Colossus.
Yeah, when they're introducing themselves to... I don't know if this is back to Spoiler Town or not, so possibly, but when they're introducing themselves to Wade Wilson, Francis makes mention that, her ability is like super strength, and mine is I'm numb.
We have the Linkin Park super hit villain.
But
he's numb and she's just crawling. I'm about to break the fourth wall. I'm Gene Shalit. But so we find out by just demonstration what a character or does.
My thing is like Negasonic Teenage Warhead, because all good superheroes are named after Monster Magnet songs.
And sour candy.
Yeah. What the... like, in the comics, if I remember correctly, like, her only abilities are, like, telepathy and, like, precognition or something like that.
That makes no sense with her name.
Yeah, I thought so, too. But,
I don't remember the character at all. I'm not familiar with the character at all.
Yeah.
I'm a bit more of a DC guy than a Marvel guy. I'm pretty familiar. It's one of those things where, like, 20th Century Fox, they own the property to X-Men.
Yeah.
Which means they own the property to well over 100 fucking characters.
Yeah.
I can't memorize them all. I'm sorry. I just can't do it. And yet, for some reason, we're going to get a third solo Wolverine movie after the X-Men movies have already been majority Wolverine based. Yeah. That still fucking pisses me off that they're like, well, now that Hugh Jackman's going to stop the character, who's going to take it up? Fucking move on, man. Come on.
We've seen him at this point.
We're done. We've got enough characters. Bishop, did Bishop even talk in Days of Future Past? Come on. Let's get something going. But okay. I'm sorry. That little minor rant there. Yeah. My bad. They need to move on. Having said that, let's also move on.
Yeah.
So, I think it's safe to say we're very pleased with the film.
Yeah.
Closing statements. What would you give it out of 5?
I'm actually thinking like 4.5.
I'm debating whether to go between. I'm debating between 4 and 4.5.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like the only reason I would give it a 4 is because it wasn't epic scale, but then I keep on thinking it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
It's fine for what it is. I think I'll give it 4.5.
Yeah. I mean, I've been waiting for this movie for some time now, and I was not disappointed leaving the theater, so...
You know, I think that's a really good way to say it, too. I was looking forward to this. I was anticipating it for a long time, and I had high hopes.
A lot of potential for disappointment.
There was a lot. And we've seen said disappointment.
Yeah. I watched said disappointment earlier today.
Which, we've had a little argument about this on numerous occasions. You think it's a little bit better than The Last Stand.
I think it's a worse movie, but I think it's a more entertaining watch.
You're giving it a leg up because of the so bad it's good factor?
It borders on that, yeah.
If I can count the work print bootleg copy, like if you give me a high definition transfer of the work print copy, where I remember... Yeah, I'll admit it. I watched it. I remember the scene in the movie towards the beginning of Origins where I don't remember if it's Wolverine or Sabretooth. One of them goes tumbling off the back of like a lumber truck.
Yeah.
They just turn into matte gray T-1000 because they didn't put any like skin on it. It's just a bland body. Like that's entertaining. And it was only years later that I saw the final polished copy of the movie, and I thought, oh shit, that's actually how good that the blades are going to look when they come out, when he's in Ma and Pa Kent's bathroom. This looks like fucking Who Framed Roger Rabbit shit.
And then like he just like taps them together and sparks.
Which he's got a current running through him, I guess. Okay, so that movie sucks. Message received. I'm very pleased with the movie.
Yeah. From here, I mean, they've announced a sequel. Mm-hmm. But one thing that's going to be that's as of yet unclear. Would you like to see this tie in with the X-Men series, or would you like it to stay its own thing?
If it ties in, I would prefer to see it be minor.
Yeah.
If he comes up in future X-Men movies, I want him to just be the comic relief.
Yeah.
And just have it be that. I don't want him to be the focal point, because if he's the focal point, then they're going to have to tone it down for a PG-13, which this is very much not a PG-13 movie.
Yeah.
Do not bring your kids. There is there's a pretty hefty amount of nudity. It's in like designated areas.
Yeah.
But when the areas come up, you see people's areas.
Yeah.
There's that, decapitations, decent amount of blood, a lot of cursing.
Yeah.
Don't bring your kids. At least wait until Blu-ray, DVD, digital release, etc. Find out then.
Yeah.
But getting back to it, your question, if he comes up, keep him minor, so that you're not having to take too much away from the essence of him, if you want to say it that way. Have the priority be his own series.
Yeah.
And I understand they're probably going to have to keep on going with the relatively smaller budget to compensate for the lack of revenue that they would make had it been a PG-13 movie, because you'll have to keep it R. That's fine.
I'm okay with that.
And I'm also fine with keeping the shorter runtime. This movie was just 100 minutes,
Yeah.
not the overblown 2 hour, 2+
Yeah.
sort of movies that we're used to in these movies. It's got a unique tone to it,
Yeah.
which is a welcome breath of fresh air.
Oh, absolutely.
Plenty of entertaining side characters. You've got the bartender.
Weasel. Yeah.
Yeah. You have the blind roommate,
Yeah.
Blind Al, who I didn't know who it was until the credits popped up, Leslie Uggams. And I was like, oh! And then I remembered, I only know the name because I heard it once on Family Guy. Shut the fuck up. This is no big deal. Don't act like you're Mr. Know-It-All. Oh, Leslie Uggams. She's from something. She was referenced on a Seth MacFarlane show, so I'm guessing she was in a musical of some sort. That's pretty much all I can tell you on that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was pleased with the movie. You're pleased with the movie?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's definite recommendation. Potentially next up for us, outside of
The weekly.
our weekly cult movie challenge routine, potentially Batman versus Superman.
Yes.
I'd say potentially because I think we're about 10 minutes away from your nap time.
I think I'm like 2 hours past my usual bedtime.
Kevin's job has you start work at 5 in the morning.
Correct.
When do you wake up?
I have my alarm set for 3:30, so usually about 4:15.
Understood. A lot of snoozes.
Yeah.
And it is 10 p.m.
Yep.
So, this was basically the trial run because it's a 100-minute long movie. I already know that Batman vs. Superman is 141 minutes.
Yeah.
Actually, now that I say that, it's only an extra 40 minutes.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I'm going to watch it. I got to see that one.
Well, yeah, go see it, okay, but also then sit down for a half-hour conversation afterwards. Ooh, we don't know about that. But, okay. That sounds like an optimistic on his part. So, hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, retweet, follow, friend.
Share.
I don't know. All
Swipe left if you're on Tinder, I think. Right, whichever the good one is.
Swipe left, I think, is the bad one.
Do the good one.
Yes.
This is good. We're good.
It ain't white if you swipe right. I don't even know if that's racist. I'm not. I couldn't even follow what I was saying.
If you have to question whether or not it's racist, doesn't that make it kind of racist?
Sure. I don't know, but it was white. I don't know. I don't know if it was a good. Let's see if anyone. Well, actually, no. It's derogatory to white people, and I'm white, so it's fine.
Okay.
It's like when rappers say the N-word that are not Eminem.
Yeah.
Well, Macklemore gets, I guess, a free pass because white privilege. He did 2 songs about white privilege, so he's cool, I guess. I don't know. I don't
think I've heard a single one of his songs.
I saw the musicless version of the thrift store music video, and that was entertaining. That's about it. I know people that have his hair cut.
Yeah. I was actually just going to say that.
Zach, a mutual friend of ours, which if you heard our last podcast, owes us an intro song. Hopefully I remember to put the intro song at the beginning of this one. I have no musical talent whatsoever, and once I familiarized with myself with how to use Ableton Live, I put that together in 10 minutes. Zach, you have no excuse. How dare you, sir? So,
on that note.
Yes, like, subscribe, follow, recommend, share, blah, 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 retweet, whatever the fuck you young kids are doing with your social media and your high kicks.
Cellular telephones.
And your Demi Lovatos.
Yeah.
I don't know. Your Courtney Thorne-Smiths.
What?
She was the wife on According to Jim. She was the hot chick in the second Revenge of the Nerds.
Okay.
I don't know why I said her. I watched the second Revenge of the Nerds a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And as is often the case, when you watch that, it just drills itself into your mind for like a good month or so.
Yeah.
So that's it. Thanks for stopping by, everyone.
Go watch Deadpool.
Most definitely.